I'm going to call this meeting of the Fox Hill School Building Committee on February 25th to order. I believe the first item is, public comment. We have no minutes. All right, no public here, no public on the phone. Right? Nope. All right. Approval of the January 21st meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All right, Mr. Brooks,
I'm going to abstain, I wasn't present.
Ms. Monaco,
Aye.
Mr. Wojcik,
Yes.
Ms. Bond,
Aye.
Ms. Kasha,
Aye.
Mr. Kuna,
Yes.
Dr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Villano?
Yes.
I'm a yes. 901. You? All right. So we have a few invoices, 2 for Danisco and 1 for Doran Whittier.
You want a motion?
Yeah, you can do the Danisco ones together.
You want them together?
The invoices?
All right. I move that we approve the Danisco invoice number 10146 in the amount of $346,200, and the Danisco invoice number 10147 in the amount of $26,747.60. That one for traffic studies.
Second.
Any questions on these?
Yeah, why did someone leave out the comma?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. It's in my.
It's in hers, yeah. Somebody must have caught it. Not in the one I have either. All right. Good?
Yeah, good.
All right. Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Ms. Monaco?
Aye.
Mr. Wojcik?
Yes.
Ms. Bond?
Aye.
Ms. Kasha?
Aye.
Mr. Kuna?
Yes.
Dr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Villano?
Yes.
I didn't get anyone else in the meantime.
Miss Priest, yes.
Who?
Oh, sorry, Ms. Priest, we got, yes. All right, so that's 10 now, right? 10, 11, 1, 2, 4, 11, 0, 0.
All right, you want a motion to approve the Doran Whittier invoice number 29 in the amount of $23,355 for DD phase, whatever that is.
Second.
Detailed design. Questions?
What's DD?
This is the detailed design, like
Design development.
Okay.
design development, there you go. All right, Mr. Brooks,
Aye.
Ms. Monaco,
Aye.
Mr. Wojcik,
Yes.
Ms. Bond,
Yes.
Ms. Kasha,
Aye.
Mr. Kuna,
Yes.
Dr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Villano,
Yes.
and Mrs. Priest.
Yes.
I'm a yes, 11, 0, 0. The commitment.
Okay. Could somebody explain to me what the difference is between,
I think a commitment is like addition to the contract. Is that correct?
An amendment.
Yeah.
okay. Okay, so I move that we approve Danisco Amendment Number 11 in the amount of $7,920 containing RE-21 for additional land survey.
Second.
Questions on this land survey?
It's within the scope and budget. Oh,
Mr. Brooks?
aye.
Monaco?
Aye.
Mr. Wojcik?
Yes.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Mr. Kasha? Mrs. Kasha, sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Kuna stepped out. Dr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Rosenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Villano?
Yes.
Mrs. Priest?
Yes.
I'm an aye, so we'll say 1001.
Who voted no?
1010, sorry, Bob.
Oh.
Right.
Wait, did Bob vote at all?
No, that's why I put him as
'Cause he wasn't in the room?
abstention, correct.
Then it's just 10-0.
All right, 10-0. 10-0?
10-0.
All right, so this is the meat of the meeting here. You want to
Yes.
present?
So we are now here looking for a vote to approve this DD to be submitted to the MSBA. We've gone through the DD estimate, and great news, we are on budget for the project, which is fantastic to hear at this time. We put together a brief summary here. You can see we did have a little bit of cost savings in the total estimated construction cost, a small increase in the soft cost because of the additional playground, and our project contingencies at this point remain the same. And during this estimating process, Danisco did prepare a list of pricing alternatives that are either a VE or a value add. We don't need to go over this today since we are on budget, but we will be looking to go through it probably at the next SBC meeting with some backup, so we can discuss if we would like to either add or deduct any of these items from the project during the next estimating, which will be end of June.
It'll be when?
End of June.
End of June.
And that would be only if the estimates come in high, or why would we value engineer or manage, what do you call it now, manage?
Value management.
Value management, if the estimates keep coming in on budget?
Ideally, we would like to keep the design in the budget exactly how it is, but this was an effort to identify any items that we might need to be value manage at some point.
And I'm just saying what would move us from might to actual would be an estimate.
If our
that is
estimates
either
start coming in
high
high.
or an actual budget bid that would be over.
Correct.
There's some items we could add, so I guess in theory, if we wanted to add one thing, we could take something away.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if I could, there's a couple items in there, Eric, that I think we had talked about previously about that were things that we might want to do, like the duct bank instead of the overhead wires to the transformers on the south of the site.
Right.
So that's in there. If this is, when we discuss it, if you want to add that to the project, and there's room, we can definitely entertain that.
Right, and some of those are in the tens of thousands, right?
It's like $70,000 or something like that.
So again, if everything is unicorns and rainbows, which it will be, then we would have enough contingency to cover those, correct?
Unicorns and rainbows.
We hope. Okay. You will see them, oh, yeah, go ahead.
Can we talk a little bit about the second playground? I wasn't aware of the second playground, and I know we talked about the design of the playground, and I hadn't seen any mock-ups or drawings about surrounding like what changes were made to make it more accessible.
So it's actually not a second playground.
Okay.
What it is the added equipment to bring in a couple of ramps, and then actually at the platforms have activities where children who are in wheelchairs do not need to transfer.
Okay, great.
And there's a couple of other freestanding pieces of equipment that are also fully wheelchair accessible. So the initial price tag that we had for the playground was in the $530,000 range. But by adding some of these accessible pieces, it brought the budget up a little bit. So great to say that we could actually include it in the budget right now. And at our next meeting, we're going to have, because this is such a short window tonight, we're going to have more to share at the next meeting. So we'll share what all those components are, and we'll actually have a video that you can watch to see how kids can navigate the actual climber as well for accessibility. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing
Yeah,
that.
no, it's going to be great.
Okay. And they're in the same space, right? They share the same space. So there's
and
one over
it's,
here and one over there, right?
Yeah, so similar to Francis Wyman, there's this paved area that's rubber, but the entire playground where the equipment is going to have that surface. So the entire area is accessible by wheelchair and those with disabilities. But the actual play equipment will have many more components that are accessible by wheelchair or are fully accessible with those who are able-bodied, upper body strength.
But they're all in the same area as
Yeah.
question there, so there's not one in a separate
It looks the
spot.
same as we
It's
showed
very
you before.
similar.
So it's the same kidney shape?
It's the same
Yes.
Okay,
exact-
that's all
it's
I'm-
within, yes.
Yeah, that's all I'm trying to clarify,
Yeah,
but
no,
everything else
it's-
sounds
yeah,
wonderful.
It's going to be great.
Great, thank you.
You want to read that?
Oh, the motion?
Yeah.
I make a motion to authorize OPM Door and Whittier Management Partners to submit the schematic design submission on behalf of the town of Burlington to the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Second.
There's different,
Hang on, yeah, it's the design development, sorry, this is an error in that. It just needs to say design development submission. This is an old.
Design,
Development.
the
sorry,
schematic
yeah, what I
design
have up
Yeah,
submission
it's
on.
that one, I don't know why this is wrong.
Okay, so you want me to read that one?
Yeah, it's the, sorry.
I'll read what's up there.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion to authorize OPM Door and Whittier Management Partners to submit the design development submission on behalf of the town of Burlington to the Massachusetts School Building Authority.
Is that a motion?
Yes. Second? Okay. Any more questions on this? Awesome. Mr. Brooks?
Aye.
Ms. Monaco?
Aye.
Ms. Nevoychuk?
Yes.
Ms. Bond?
Yes.
Ms. Kasha?
Yes.
Mr. Kuna?
yes.
Dr. Conti?
Absolutely.
Mr. Rosenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Volano?
Yes.
Ms. Priest?
Aye.
And I'm a yes, it's 11:00, and that is a milestone.
Thank you, congratulations.
Ton of work by you guys. Thanks. Thank you.
How come we don't see Donna anymore? Is she done with us?
Oh, we did give her that message, so she'll show up again.
Man.
She's double booked on this evening, the
You
Tuesday.
tell her I'm not voting for anything else until she's here.
Yeah, I was wondering last time, too. Hadn't seen her in a while.
She did attend our
Yeah,
last
she
meeting,
did.
so she was at the subcommittee level. She's been making those meetings.
But we'll let her know.
All right, I'm going to switch over to this.
All right, great. So we just wanted to provide a quick update on a couple of meetings that we've had recently. Here you'll see the timeline as to where we are. If you, I don't know, it's a little tough to see on the screen, but we are really at the end of the design development phase, and as of the beginning of March, which is literally next week, we start the construction documents phase. So that phase is when we actually are looking at how the school is constructed, all of the details that go into it, and if you think this set of documents is large, this is the next phase of drawings are going to be even larger. So it's a really great time because we're going to be checking and really taking a hard look at some of the components that we're designing and making sure that what we're designing meets the energy code. And at this point in design development, we're starting to develop these details, so we're sharing them with our sustainability consultant and having them look at our design to make sure we're on the right path. So we've met with a sustainability group. Was it last week? It seems like a while ago. For a quick update, part of our submission this week, we're going to be submitting the design development package on Thursday to MSBA. Part of that package includes an energy model, which is what our sustainability consultants work on. Once they receive our documents, they look at our design to make sure we're still on target to achieving the EUI and the TEDI targets, as well as our lead credits. So at the meeting last week, we reviewed some of the findings. So basically, With regard to our energy goals, we are meeting the EUI of 25. I don't know if you all recall when we started talking about energy, this number 25 is important because it's the energy use intensity for the building, and all of the equipment and components that use energy feed into this number. The 25 is important because it helps us then achieve the requirements for the Mass Save incentives, and that equates to a nice chunk of change. So right now, we're on target to reaching that. We are going to be achieving the LEED. We're still targeting LEED Gold at this point. Our sustainability consultants are being very conservative. So while we're targeting LEED Gold, we are at squarely in the silver. So you need 60 points to hit gold. We're at 59. There's a couple of energy credits that we know we're going to achieve, but they're not giving it to us yet until we've selected the equipment. So that's to be confirmed at the next phase. Let's see, the thermal envelope we know exceeds the LEED baseline, and the building is really achieving exemplary energy performance due to a combination of the thermal envelope, how it's performing, the efficient lighting system, and the state-of-the-art mechanical system. What we also talked about was the fact that our plumbing fixtures are also high efficiency, and we're achieving about a 36% water savings from baseline. So it's all really great news. It's a great building. We're going to continue to look at all of these components and see how we can do better. But in terms of the envelope, it's a really good, tight envelope. And the Energy Code has all these really checkpoints that really make sure we're on target. Burlington is a stretch code community, so as part of the code requirements, we have to meet the stretch code requirements. And Teddy is what helps us measure that. So at this point, our energy model does show that we're meeting the stretch code requirements. Next. So these are just some graphs that are in the energy model. If you guys are interested, it's kind of interesting reading. It's in a section for sustainability in the documentation that Andrea had shared with you all earlier, actually, I think last Friday. So this will show you that we are at 25.1 for EUI. Anything below 25.5 is considered 25, so they round down. So at this point, we have the information that our consultants have. Again, they're being very conservative, so we're expecting that we would be improving upon this once they have more information. Next. Not controlling it this time. So the Teddy model is thermal energy demand intensity. It's the amount of energy required to heat and cool the building. So this graph shows us that we are below the threshold required to meet the Teddy limits for cooling, and we're just at the threshold for heating. So again, what feeds into this is how the insulation of our building, the windows, the amount of glass to the window, to the solid walls, and many other components. So again, if you look into the energy model report, that will kind of spell it all out. And then this is our LEED scorecard. Many components, and you'll see that there are 4 columns next to each of the credits. So the first column are the credits that were squarely, yes, we're going to achieve these for sure. The second column is the strong yeses or strong maybes, so they're very likely going to be achieved. So you'll see that the absolute yeses equal 59, and there are many other credits in the strong maybes. And then the third column are the less likely maybes, and the last column are no. We always struggle when we have schools that are not in urban settings because there are so many credits that you can achieve by being in a more urban setting, you know, with bus lines and amenities that are within a mile. So it's difficult to achieve those, but even with the other ones, we are really looking towards gold, which is a really good thing.
solar update. So this is kind of a recap of what we talked about last time. We just have a little bit of update. We looked at the 3 different options available for solar in our study. So one was just rooftop only, one was rooftop and canopies together, and the third one was rooftop, canopies, and then additional battery storage. You can go to the next slide. And then we kind of presented last time the 2 options, whether the town purchases the solar panels themselves as a separate project and connects to our solar-ready building, or if there's a purchasing agreement with Onyx Energy or some other company to provide the installation and maintenance of the solar system for the life of the system. Slide, please. So, oops, this came in a little small. These are just kind of a couple, this is a slide showing the power generation, which is the green area of the solar panels if you just put them on the roof. And the blue bars or the dark bars are essentially your energy use by month. And you can kind of see that if you just put the rooftop in, it makes about 40% of your annual energy needs, which is still a substantial amount of benefit. And then if you go to the next slide, so if you add the canopies, if you add the canopies, you can see that there's a much higher peak in the middle. So this is how you get to a little over 100% of your annual needs. So you have to add all those additional canopies in the parking lot. Slide. We did some cost analysis, and Ed Parsons helped us figure out what the value of money is. So he used the net present value if you borrow the $3.4 million to build the system at year 0, what that ends up turning out to be. And I think he used a 5% net present value. And I'm not a financial guy, so I don't totally understand the dynamics of that. But in his analysis, it looks like they're about the same as using a PPA for the town.
So what's not in this spreadsheet are the annual costs for maintenance. So what we're going to do is actually take those numbers, incorporate them, and provide an updated analysis at the next meeting. What we'll also do is put together a flow chart, kind of a decision tree of sorts, so that you all can see a broader picture of what this means for schedule, permitting, and fold that into your decision making. So more to come next month, at next month's meeting.
Martha?
Thank you. I was able to see this at our working group last week, and a question that came up after is if the town decides to go with a PPA and not purchase the PV, then there is no $3 million.
First cost.
There's no first cost, right? So, and this, if the town chooses to go with to purchase the solar panels, then it would add 3-point-something million to the project. Is that accurate? I just want to be really clear about that. And I'm not at the level of who should necessarily decide which way we should go. There's clearly pros and cons to different ones, but it struck me that I wanted to make sure if we go PPA, we're not also responsible for it. So there would be no additional cost to the project if we do PPA. And we could do the rooftop and the canopies on the parking lot for no additional cost if we do the 3. And we would then reach net zero energy in terms of electricity usage overall.
And we get a bunch of lead points that we're not.
And we get a bunch of lead points. So I just wanted to clarify that. If I'm right, that's great. Okay, thank you.
I also have 2 observations. One is that I think the numbers here are based on the fact if you borrow the money to build the solar panels, at the time the decision gets made, it may be that there's cash or something that could be spent, which would change the math a little bit. And then my other observation is about, in terms of the design of the canopies. I mean, Bob said that the proposals that they've got, they will build the canopies, they will pay for all of them up front, so there's no additional cost. My only thought that was that we may have a more limited sort of design control if the PPA builds the canopies, because they will I don't know what their process is, but for the design of them, but it will be different than if we go through our current architects. But none of those really make a major difference in the result, so.
I think they would still have to go through your planning board, so you would have some chance to comment on the design of it. I mean, they're going to look like utilitarian things.
Yes. Anyway.
Uncle Jeremy.
Just wondering if there's any difference in the life cycle cost analysis. So if you go PPA, there's no upfront cost, but I noticed there's a fixed cost per kilowatt hour that we pay, and we agreed for that for 20 years. So has there been a life cycle cost comparison done to show that we actually do realize that cost saving of not paying the upfront $3 million?
I think that's sort of what this chart is. It talks about avoided utility costs, both sides, and the cash flow is kind of how, the way I did it originally was just, I didn't take into account the cost of the borrowing, so it looked a lot more rosy for buying it.
Okay.
But yeah, we do think this roughly captures what you would save for the life cycle cost of the product.
If I may? No?
Just, Martha, something you said, the photovoltaics themselves are separate from the building project, right? You're doing basically plug and play. So everything will be built so the town can make that decision either contemporaneously with the building or could potentially make the decision after.
Yep.
Does the town have any photovoltaics in service, Bob, now? I know the schools do, but does the town have any?
I'm honestly not aware. So schools have two buildings, middle school and high school, but I'm not aware if the town does.
And those are PPAs?
Correct.
So one of the challenges is if we purchase solar panels, and again, if it financially makes sense, we don't really have anyone trained to support or maintain. Like, we would be responsible. They would have a warranty and have everything else, but if inverter breaks after the warranty, then we would either need to pay someone to do that, or we would need to train someone to be able to do that.
Maintenance contractor in-house maintenance.
Right. Just like a boiler, just like anything else would be utility that we would have to maintain.
Yep.
And the PPA is not, they're responsible for maintaining and replacing and doing anything else like that.
Yeah, again, I'll just comment. So this is, I haven't read the language of this contract because we haven't signed anything, but on the current one, we are not responsible for the maintenance of them. So their company comes in and does any maintenance, any repairs, any checks on it themselves. We don't go up there. We don't touch those panels at all, period. And we just earn a credit from it. There's more to it than that, but I'm saying we don't put our hands on that equipment at all.
And again, I just would, maybe we need to, does the town have future plans to add solar panels? Because I think if there's a model that we're using, maybe there's some economies of scale with the model, because we would be stepping away from the model that we currently have if we were to purchase. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. It financially might be better to purchase, but it would be a different course than we're currently on.
I can do some homework and reach out and see if there are other town departments or buildings that have them, and I'll report back.
Well, I'm getting, like, say, the police station. Is the police station going to have solar panels? If it is, what are they planning? Because maybe there's some economies of scale, because it's kind of separate to the project, right?
I think town has one right now, and either it's going to be going live shortly or just did. And I'm not sure which, whether it was a PPA or not, but I can get that information.
Yeah. It would make sense to me to look at that.
Yes, I wanted to follow up on what Roger was talking about in terms of would we have control over where these would be located? And I know when they proposed to us adding more solar panels, they didn't want to put canopies down the back of the high school over here. They wanted to put them on the practice field, and we don't want to give up any fields. And I'm wondering if you could also find out if we're looking at PPA before the decision is made, would we be able to say, here's where we want them, on the parking lot? We don't want them, and so if you're not going to offer us canopies on the parking lot, we may not want your PPA, or what. I think that I'd like to know if you wouldn't mind looking into that, because that, to me, would also I had assumed that with a project like this, that we could say, like, for example, when we got the ones on the roof here and on the middle school, we said, this is where we want them, on the roof. And they did it. And if we say, this is where we want them, on the roof of this new building and in the parking lot of this new building, they can say yes or no, and what would the deal be, instead of saying to us, well, we won't do that. We'll only do it if. So I'd be interested in making sure that we wouldn't if we choose PPA, that we don't end up in a position where then they say to us, no, you can't do it the way you want to do it.
I'm sure it's a negotiation, so.
Right,
you know.
but you made it sound sort of like, well, it was up to them. So I just want to make sure that we put our...
Again, if I could just comment through the chair. So again, I have not been part of this conversation, so this, I believe, is just a proposal, right?
Right.
At the time. At the current proposals that we have, we did have input where we did say and walk the roofs and say, this is where we want it. And then we did have a chance to say, not this roof, yes, this roof, here's a ladder, how do we get up there, et cetera, et cetera. On follow-up proposals, again, with the current vendor that we're using, they did provide us some other options, and we had some flexibility as well too. We obviously have not chose to move forward with any of those other proposals, but again, they did say, here's some opportunities for you, and then we did have the opportunity to obviously discuss, yes or no if we liked it, or size them up or down a little bit. At some point it has to be financially beneficial for the town and for us and for the company, or they're not going to take the deal. So there obviously has to have bigger and deeper conversations before we signed anything.
So I'm finding this a little confusing. So my question is, at the last meeting, we talked about break even in years, and then we decided that since we were probably bonding the money, that wasn't accurate. So based on all of this, what do you see as a break even in years?
I'd have to do the math on it, actually. It was like 10 years when you didn't have the or 9.8
Yeah, I think,
years.
yeah, it was eight or nine.
The blurb, and that said 9.8 years on one of the slides.
I think the goal here was to show, like, at the end of the day, this is after 22 years, you'd actually walk away with, like, slightly more on the PPA, mostly because you have to borrow the money for the purchase.
5%.
So it's, in the long run, you break even on the purchase after 10 years, but if you didn't even purchase at all, it's roughly the same. If the assumptions are valid, they're both cost us about the same over the 22 years.
The only thing I
all
will
right.
point out is if you look at the amount of cash flows, if you could continue this, I don't know how long the cells actually last.
Okay.
But you'll make more money if you own it.
Yeah.
Because the cash flow is like over $200,000, and the other one's only $147,000.
Start in April.
25-year lifespan, and they
So you're looking at it as a comparison
Yes.
of buying versus
Leasing, yeah.
And they're pretty close.
Yes. And again, similar to, like, I guess, any sort of purchase, like, if we are able to hold on to the ones we've purchased longer, if they last longer, then we'll get more money.
You also lose efficiency.
What is the replacement rate when you are doing a power purchase agreement? So the company has them, they're not making as much money, so are they more likely to replace them faster? Or are they going to let them just run after 30 years, what they run at 80% efficiency? Are they going to let them go at 80% efficiency? Are they going to
I have no idea.
go back to that 20%?
That's a question for that's a good question, yeah. I know they degrade 0.5% per year, so in 20 years, it'd be about 1% reduction. So they'd be about 90%? Does that add up?
Good math.
So, but yeah, at some point, it probably makes sense to get rid of them and replace them. And probably in 20 years, we might have, solar cells that are twice as energy and, get twice as much energy out of each cell.
Yeah.
More, so who knows? Yeah. But you are entered into an agreement for at least 20 years with the company. So you're on the hook for 20 years to buy their power.
Well, I think this is going to take a lot more discussion.
Yeah.
Great.
That's it, right?
Yeah. Go back to,
I did just want to mention the meeting we had this morning. It's worthwhile. Or this is other topics, right, Andrea? Just to clarify. Okay.
back to, yeah.
So Danisco set up a meeting for Dr. Conti and Mr. Kuna and Parks and Rec and DPW to kind of walk through the landscape at the new school. It was eye-opening to me. They talked about the literal seeds, the grass seeds and the flowers and the trees, and I think it was good to have everybody at least on the same page. Okay, this is where you're going to need to plow. This is where how often you're going to need to mow. So I think we need more conversations, but it was a good. And Terra Inc. is the consultant that was there. Yeah, so they were really helpful in outlining. You know, Brendan seemed to not want to mow, and they're like, well, we'll happily mulch, and then he was like, no, because mulch just gets weeds. So it was kind of a good back and forth that they can keep some of the small short grass and what the expectations might be. The parking lot trees, they said that the leaves fall off and they're so small they blow into the wind and you don't have to blow them. So fingers crossed on that one. And there was the back and forth on some certain types of trees. So I thought it was a helpful initiation of that conversation. Bob, did you feel good?
No, I agree. I think those are great conversations when you have all the departments in the room and then, helping us build a great building and then making sure that the plan comes to fruition. So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for me, it falls under sustainability. It's not energy sustainability, but it's sustaining the looks of the building over time. It's an investment. We've had some challenges with some bioretention areas that were meant to function certainly, but the plants grow up in front of Memorial and in front of the middle school, and they're a challenge. So I think it's a beautiful design, but it needs to be mowed and cut and trimmed in order to thrive over the lifespan of the building. So I think we need to have a maintenance plan. And when you guys come back and visit at our 10-year anniversary, I think we want the landscape
Does it have those retention basin things?
well cared for and taken care of. So I think that's the...
I don't think to the extent that Memorial has.
So we want to, I think, put together a maintenance plan that matches the landscape design, and then make sure we have the staffing to uphold that design.
Brendan.
The town, who is ever responsible needs to...
Good luck with that.
Well, I think it's important to talk about. We're adding a couple fields, and it's a different grass seed, which I learned today, than the other grass
A very
seed.
specific mix of
Yeah,
grass
but
seeds.
And it's irrigated, but I'm saying, then the fields need to be mowed. The traffic islands have grass in the middle of them, so we want those to be mowed, and there are curbs, so we're going to have to make sure that they have access to the traffic islands. And then remember, in front of the school, you have that front lawn, that big triangle. That's going to need to be mowed, or else the school's going to look like it has a big bioretention area in front of it. So, I just think it's something we should talk about.
Maybe you can get like a mowing shark.
Get some goats. Eric, is there a bioretention like at Memorial?
No, it's a different design, Neil. Again, I'm out of my depth here, so if you want to, it's underground.
It's all subsurface systems. You won't see anything. There'll be some catch basins that'll
There are
catch
at
the water.
least 2 at Memorial, and there's at least 2 at Wildwood Park. And they always just grow up stuff.
Yeah, they don't look great.
They're not good.
We have none of those.
So is there an issue with who's going to mow the grass?
No.
Okay.
But
Just that it's more grass.
how
where
often,
he has to mow.
Some of the plants require a trimming every year, so what are the yellow flowers? Not a lot, but daylilies need to be sort of trimmed every year. Again, if we're buying a whole hell of a lot of daylilies, we should make sure we're
Daylilies look great when they're in bloom, but then they don't look so good for the rest of the time.
Well, there's greenery there, and I'm, again, out of my area of expertise, but I'm saying we were talking about daylilies and grass seed today.
Martha?
Was there discussion about using native plants and plants that are drought resistant and all that?
100%.
Yep.
Great.
Talked a lot about
Great.
that stuff,
Yeah,
too.
and the back is very shady, so they had to be real careful about what they put at the top, you know.
Good.
Yep.
And also, I know there was a lot of conversation about the vernal pools, and was there discussion of putting in plantings, of native plantings between the playing fields and the vernal pools?
We aren't touching the buffer zone of the vernal
Or
pool.
at the edge of the buffer, or
Yeah.
there was a big conversation about all those balls that were going to get kicked into the vernal pools, and I want to make sure we get some native plantings there to prevent that from happening.
Right now, it's a seed mix,
A what?
a seed mix.
Ah.
So it'll be a little naturalized looking,
Oh.
but we are 200 feet away from the vernal pool.
And then my last question is, in terms of the front lawn section, does it have to be a lawn? Could it be creeping bushes? Could it be things that don't need to be mowed?
No, nothing creeping around schools is sort of the rule. But, no, I was kidding. They have a butterfly garden, and they have other features there. And then the Fox Hill sign has some bushes around it.
And pollinator plants.
And pollinator plants. So I think they're looking at some creative things.
But also, I mean, couldn't it all be, various things that don't need mowing, for example?
It's a large.
It's a big space. It
Yeah.
could be, but we could, well, you'll see it.
There's a
I guess we can-
variety
we can
of
comment on it,
types
but-
of plants that you can put in that don't require a lot of, any or a lot of mowing, so, anyway, thank you.
I know I shouldn't keep this going, but a wildflower field might look nice, but I think to many eyes, it would look a little bit rough.
Yep.
And that's probably not the look that people will end up wanting. But to me, that's a great alternative in terms of being native and wild.
Back to Sandra.
Did we pick up any public on the line? Nope. All right. Anyone have a motion?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Are we already there?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.